Hi, and welcome to a demo of the Omniboost Owners Portal as it is connected to a MEWS PMS property. What you see in front of you is the main dashboard that you would see as a property admin when you log in. In order to get to this step, you will first have to request the connection to the Omniboost Owners Portal from your MEWS Marketplace. Um, Once you do that, an access token will be generated and sent to our team. We will take it and use it to pull the information from your Muse property, such as your space configuration and revenue and reservations that are related to those spaces, and create your owner's portal profile. Once that profile is ready, we will send you the credentials as a property admin that you can use to log into this page. You will receive those to the email address that you've used to request the connection. So now I'm going to walk you through the system and explain you all of the features in the order that is required from you as a new property admin to configure everything and start using the profile. So here you have a display of all of the spaces that exist in your Muse environment. Here you can see them displayed as individual cards, which you can then use to access each of the rooms. You can also have a room overview from this tab, where you will see them in a list view. I will get to those in more detail a little bit later, but for start, the first step that you will be guided towards when you're setting up a new environment is the Property tab. So here you can see a little bit of information like the number of spaces that we have pulled into your owner's portal profile. From here, you can see some of the users that are currently assigned to this property, and then rooms and reports. So you can access those two parts of the system this way, but we're first going to go into the configuration of the actual property. So this is the first step that you will have to take when you receive your new property admin credentials. You will finish some of the configuration that will help determine what information is shown to which owner and how they can access it. So here from the start, you can see reservation check-in and checkout time. This is information that we have pulled from your Muse configuration. There is no reason to change it, and changing it in here will not impact your Muse setup. This is simply more for your information. Over here, we start with the features. So the first feature is show financial data to users. This feature determines whether or not each of the investors can see the revenue that is generated in their relevant spaces that they are assigned to. This is one of those features, like a number of the others that I will talk about, that you are able to modify at both the property and the individual owner level, which I will show you when I show and explain the profiles. So over here we have the reports that you can show to users. This refers to property level performance reports. There are 4 metrics that we've selected that we've displayed in dashboards, and this allows you to share the performance of the overall property with the individual investors if you so choose to. This is another one that can be set up at either the property level and overwritten or set up individually at each of the owner levels. Additional document section. This is where you can save time or the effort that you would usually in sharing a document in a thread, an email to all of your investors. You can simply go here and upload any document that you wish to share with them. So this could be financial statements, it could be newsletter, anything that you would like to instantly share with all of the investors, any sort of announcement. The moment you share that here, they will get a notification and they will be able to access it from their individual profiles. So on their profile, their menu on the left-hand side would look a little bit different. And instead of just invoices, they would actually have a tab called Documents. And when they open the documents, they will be able to access not only the invoices that you've issued for them, but also files that you've shared with the entire property, as well as any files that you have shared with just that investor. Down here we have commission calculations. So this is where we kindly ask that you select any commission products that you have created in Muse that you want to be removed from the overall revenue calculation. This will be a little bit clearer when we're looking at the revenue overview, but it basically specifies which products we need to take away from the overall calculation. So if you have OTA commissions for Booking or Expedia, and those can be applied to each reservation using product rules in MEWS. And then because you will be responsible for paying that commission off to these OTAs, well, that needs to be removed from the total calculation of the remaining revenue that you could be working with each individual investor or owner. Down here we have reservation products. This refers to products that should be shown to the investors when they are making their own reservation through the Owners Portal. So here you would have a list of all of your products that we will pull in from MEWS. This we're referring to stay service products only because they are actually related to the night stay. So all of them would be displayed here, and you will be tasked with selecting which ones need to be displayed when they are selecting the reservation, when they're creating the reservation. So we've selected all of these as an example, and now we're on to property tax or VAT levels. So over here, as you can see, if you hover over it, you are required to select the correct VAT or tax level that applies to the stay service. This is important because it will be used in invoices, which I will show examples of in a little bit. We will show you a dropdown of all of the tax or VAT levels that you have configured in your MEWS environment, and we ask you to specify the one that applies to the stay service. During using this feature, you can enable the investors to create reservations through the portal. So if you turn this on, as you can see now, if it's disabled, then they cannot make reservations. If you turn it on, then you will be offered a drop down here with all of the rates that are existing in your MEWS environment. So it will be your task to select the rate that you want to be used as a default for all of the reservations booked through the Owners Portal by the owners. This is another feature which you are able to set one setting at the property level, and then you can override it. So for each individual investor that you wish to enable them to use a different rate with the different pricing that you've set in MEWS, you can select that in their profile, and that will override the setting, and their reservations will be made with that particular rate. If you want to limit the own usage nights, so if you want to allot only a certain number of nights per year or per given period that investors can create their own reservations, then you can do so here. The moment that they have reached that limit, the add reservation button, which you will see shortly, will no longer be available in their reservation overview. Down here is the revenue percentage section. This refers to revenue calculations or deductions that you will be applying on the net revenue only in the Owners Portal. So we've taken the revenue that's generated for the reservation, we've removed the VAT from it, if applicable. We've removed any commission products that you've specified, and now we're working with the net amount. And this is where you're able to apply a commission fee or management fee of any kind for yourself, for your property, a cleaning fee, any other additional deductions that need to be implemented across all of the different investors. You create those here. So you can create them as fixed amounts. They can be percentages. They can be calculated per person that's actually staying in the reservation for a given night. This is also one of the features that can be overridden at the user profile, and I will show that when I'm demonstrating one of those in a little bit. In this section, we have invoice data. So this is where we ask you to provide some basic information about your property that needs to be on the invoices that you'll be generating. So things like your email, your IBAN, your VAT identifier, your website, etc. Here you can specify the invoice prefix, so something that allows you and your accounting team to further differentiate these invoices from any other ones that you are managing. This information is automatically pulled into the invoices, so you will not have to populate it every time. Continuing in that same logic, a logo. Once you upload a logo, your own logo will automatically be included in all of your invoices. The same logo that you would upload will then also replace the one you see from Omniboost here in the top left corner. Additional things that you can do to modify the look and feel of this and make it more aligned with your brand is you can change the menu alignment. So here on the left hand side or on the top, You can add a banner image that will be displayed across the very top for both you and all of the investors. And you can modify the background color, button text color, website, and the menu color to allow you to really give it your own look and feel that aligns with your brand. Whenever you have created users, which will be the next step, this is another place where you are able to assign users to this given property. So this can only be done by a property admin. And this is important because if you are a property admin of a chain of properties, then you will only be creating one set of one profile for each of your investors. And if you're cooperating with them across different properties, then you will simply select and assign them to the properties that that they have spaces in. So once you've managed to set up the basic configuration of your property, you make sure to hit save. And then the next step you have to go to is to create the user profiles. So here is a user overview. If you create the users, they will be visible here. It's very simple to add a user. So adding new profiles does not take a lot of time. You simply enter their first and last name, and you can select a country that they're from. You can enter any sort of a password over here, and you already have an option if you already know in advance whether this user will be using a different reservation rate for their bookings. If you do not wish to select that now, that's not a problem. That will be available in just a second, and you can modify it at any point in time. So just an example here, we're going to save this user, and you can see now that this user has become available over here. As a new user. You can see that they're only assigned to one property in my chain. You can see the email that their profile uses as well as their roles. So you are now viewing this from a property admin perspective. All investors, owners will have a user role. So if I wanted to continue to modify my investor profile for testy test, here we have the rest of the settings that I was referring to. So this is what that looks like on an individual owner profile. If you wanted to share documents only with this owner, so upload them and only make them available in their profile, you would do so here directly from their profile. Here you can see all of the same features, so you can enable user-specific reservation rate if you wish for them to have a different rate than the default one you've set at the property level. You can make sure that this user does not see the revenue information by turning this off. You can turn the reports on for this user, even if you maybe had them disabled at the entire property level. And then if you wanted to add different calculations, different fees for cleaning or your management fee for this particular investor, you are able to do that here. So whatever you enter here will override what you have configured at the property level. Please do note that also when you do this when an investor owner has a different revenue percentage, from your profile, from the revenue overview, you will continue to see the property level calculations, and that will be a little bit clearer when we're looking at the revenue overview. But the revenue calculations that you created for this investor will be visible and applied in their profile. So when they log in, they will be able to see these numbers. And when you generate invoices for a given investor that has different revenue calculations, that will of course be reflected on the invoices you're generating. Much like with the property, there is a user invoice data fields. So here you can provide this information on behalf of the investor if you already know it from previous cooperation, or once you create their profile, because the moment you create their profile, they will receive their credentials. They can go in and on the bottom left hand, just like I have here, they will have a profile tab, and then they can fill out this information for you. Another thing that's important to understand is even though they will receive the credentials for their profile the moment that it's created, they will not be able to see any reservation or revenue information until you assign them to a specific room. So I'm going to save this now. As you can see, it's asking me to enter the minimum required fields. So I'm going to do that here, and this ensures that I'm able to generate invoices for this new owner or investor. So I'm going to save this now, and as we can see, user is updated successfully. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to go to the rooms overview, because this is where I need to assign the correct users to the individual spaces. And now, again, we can see the list of all of the individual spaces that have been pulled from your MEWS environment. What we need to do is we can go into either editing all the rooms. So this is a quicker way to select a single user and then assign them to any number of spaces. So if they have multiple spaces, this is a very easy way to do that. And then here, let's say we're going to do like this, and we can set the investment start date. As you can see, this is the only required field because this is the time frame from which the owner can access information related to these spaces. If you do not provide an investment end date, then they will be able to access that until you come in here and do so, or for some reason delete their profile, the room, etc. If you enter an investment end date, this will be the date at which, once that date arrives, they will no longer be able to access the information related to the space. So I'm going to now save this. As we can see, rooms have been updated successfully. So now we're going to go over to rooms. And now we can see that we have added the new testy test user to all of the spaces that were selected there. So now that we have a number of different users in the different spaces, we can go and actually look at one of the rooms. So over here is an example of some room information. Every investor owner will be able to see this information about the space or spaces assigned to them. So here there will be an image and a description, as well, if available, a list of features that is pulled directly from MEWS. For each room, you can see reservation and revenue information is available. Reservation information is what we're going to start with. So here you have a list view of all of the reservations that have been created and pulled in from MEWS into this particular space. You can see their start and end date. There's an adult, number of adults, number of children. This is the basic minimum information required by the MEWS API for creating a reservation. Then we received a request for the origin country, so you understand where the reservations are coming from. And then an own usage column. We had a number of requests for clients and owners wanting to differentiate their reservations from those created by general guests or general usage of the hotel. So if one of these reservations belongs to an investor owner, they've created it themselves, there will be a little green tick mark here. Over here is a calendar view, so just an even easier way to see the availability for a given space. So here, for example, I can see the 28th through the 1st, yeah, are free. So I'm going to now demonstrate what it looks like to have a reservation or create a reservation from here. But before I do that, just wanted to clarify that same as with the little tick mark here, if the reservation is created by the investor owner from their own profile, we would be able to see that reservation differentiated in blue instead of red. The reason that everything is red, as will the reservation I'm about to create, is because I'm doing this from the property admin profile. So we said February 28th through March 1st, we're going to go up here and add a reservation. So February 28th, March 1, adults, let's say 2, children 0, and products. So for example, I would like to have breakfast. Before I do that, I just want to show you the timeline. So we are looking at here a 10803, and we were looking at February 28th until March 1st. So we can see here that this space is empty in the related MEWS profile. I'm going to click create. I'm going to receive a notification that the reservation was created successfully. And now I'm going to go into my MEWS timeline. I'm going to refresh. Get back down to the space 10803. And now we can see that the 28th of February until the 1st of March has a new reservation. When I click it open in MEWS, I can see that this reservation was created just a moment ago. And then we have Under products, we have the breakfast because there are 2 adults, there are 2 breakfasts. You can see that there's OTA commission because the rate that we used actually has an OTA commission product related to it. And we can see that the origin is the API, meaning it came from an external source, which in this case is the Owners Portal. If we open the notes field, we can see that the reservation came from the Owners Portal and it did include products. So a very easy overview from the property admin perspective to be able to see that. And now when we go back to the room, we can access the second component, which is the revenue information. So this is where we can view the revenue information from this perspective. And you have each of the nights that have generated revenue in the PMS. For example, there was a reservation on the 3rd of February, and that reservation generated some revenue. After we've removed the VAT and removed any possible commission products related to that rate, we are left then with this net value. So this is the starting value that we could be working with paying out to the investors. This is where the additional revenue calculations that you can create at the property level or individual user level are applied. So here is an example of a 10% calculation. There's a cleaning fee. The amounts will always be in the default currency of the property, the way you have your MEWS property configured. And then over here, you can see the total per invoice. So each one of these accounting items at the end, this is a starting value. These are the deductions, and this is the amount expected to be paid out to the owner. Down here, you also have the totals, revenue generated, the deductions, as well as the total. So this is the basis, this is the information that we use as a basis for the invoices that are generated. So now if we go into invoices, here we can see some example invoices that are created. Some of them we've sent, some of them are still in draft. So first I'll show you what creating an invoice looks like. Here you can select any user that you wish to create an invoice for. If they have one or multiple spaces, you can choose to generate documents for one or both. You can select any time frame that you would like the invoice to be generated for. You're not limited in like month or quarter chunks in any way. If you would like this invoice, aside from it having being automatically sent to the investor, if you would like to send it to your accountant or your own email, you're able to do so here. It's a very good way of keeping track of the documents that have been sent out. If you would like the information on the invoice to be either grouped or detailed, you can do so here. I will show you examples of both very shortly. And then if you would like to add additional one-off costs, you can do so here. So you can make as many additional costs, let's say deductions for whatever additional one-off fees or costs that need to be applied. So if we go back to our invoices overview, you can see that the ones that have been created but not sent are marked as draft here, and that's why they don't have a number, that they're not in the sequence yet. So we can preview one of these. And here's an example of a detailed invoice. So here we've pulled in information regarding the owner, so their invoice data that they have provided or we've entered as a property admin. Here's the issue date, the invoice number. So once it's actually sent, there will be a number here assigned to it in sequence. IBAN information from the owner, and then down here we can also see the information that we have entered about the property. Over here we have room revenue and then the time frame that the invoice applies to. Here we have that's grouped by room. So for example, this is an invoice only for room 108-01 or bed in this case. We have a list of the reservations according to their identifiers, start and end dates, net value that was generated, and then deductions, and then the final total that can be expected to be paid out to the investor for this period. As mentioned, this can also be done as summary. So a summarized invoice would look very similar, except it would not have the detailed line. So you would only have the totals, and here you can see totals per room for a given period, and then any extra fields, and then the total amount that can be paid out. Just to explain a little bit more, so when a draft is created, we wanted to make it possible for you to not only preview it, but also be able to edit it. So you can check it, you can make changes to it, and it isn't until you're absolutely certain that you want to send it that you would actually be sending it out. So once you click send, it will ask you one more time, are you sure to send this invoice? And once you do that, the invoice will be sent. And here you can see that it will get a sequential number assigned. So at this point in time, there is no more modification of this invoice. You can only preview it moving forward. We are now going to go back to the property, and this is where you are able to access the reports. So this is referring to the property level performance reports. These are the four metrics that we have selected at this time for hospitality. So ADR, year-to-date, cumulative revenue, and occupancy. And this is, as the note says above, revenues are excluding VAT and products. We're only referring to the night revenue. And all of these dashboards, these calculations can easily be reconciled with your MEWS accounting report if it's revenue, and then with your MEWS occupancy report if you are looking at the occupancy calculations. This is a very good way to share property level performance information with the investors and put them at ease if there are any questions like, is this really the occupancy, or there may be thinking that they're getting skipped over, or a number of other questions that existing clients have already told us can sometimes be raised by investors or owners. Over here where you see the little bell, so this is an easy way to manage the notification. You as a property admin will always be notified if there's a new reservation created, or if there's something else that is important for you to be aware of. You will see a little icon here with the bell and a number of notifications, and then you can simply delete or manage them directly from here. Down here, you can see that you can currently switch to 3 different languages, English, Dutch, and German. If there is a need for another language, we are more than happy to work on updating the file. So there is a language file that we can definitely modify when necessary and make different languages possible. In terms of profile management, so you as the property admin can manage the profile information here. This is the information for the property, and this is also what it would look like for an individual investor owner. You can also change your password here, two-factor authentication if you would like to set it up, logging out of sessions, and delete your account if it's necessary. That concludes this presentation of the Omniboost Owners Portal as connected to MEWS. I hope you've enjoyed the show.